This is another one where it's like I can't believe we're here, and that is the Magic. I may have to rescind a rotten egg. Though I actually also feel somewhat validated for some of my rotten egg points, which I'll get to in a minute. And that's the Magic as the 8 seed have a 2-1 lead over the Pistons, who are the 1 seed, though they have not played like a 1 seed at all these playoffs. We get Game 4 tonight in about an hour because it's 5:56 on the dot right now. How have the Magic taken the 2-1 series lead? I think first off, credit to the Magic. Backs against the wall, and they've come out fighting. Game 1, especially, Game 2 got away from them, and then they bounced back again in Game 3. And I think you're just seeing the talent that we all knew what was there, and that's why I say I feel kind of validated in my rotten egg take, because like they were the rotten egg because you had a ton of good players and really had expectations, and you didn't deliver. But like this is kind of what you expected from this team, and that's sure, you maybe don't have like a top 5 player in the league, but Paulo is pretty good and he can get his own. And Franz is a very talented player, and Jalen Suggs can knock down shots and distribute and plays great defense. And Desmond Bane's a great shooter and is another very talented player. Like the talent on this roster was always really apparent, which is why it was crazy they were the 8 seed. And that talent maybe is kind of coming together a little bit. They're not necessarily still playing fantastic offense, but they're playing really hard. They're committed to what they're trying to do, and the defense is still great. And I think that's the biggest thing that stuck out to me in this series of like this team still goes through offensive lulls because they just don't run fantastic offense, and the ball can get stuck. A lot of ISO at times when there doesn't need to be, but their defense has kind of found form again to where, especially against this Pistons team who's really struggling offensively, even if we go through a bit of an offensive lull, our defense got us. We can trust our defense to help us weather the offensive issues for a stretch to where when we find the offense again, the game's still close and we aren't all of a sudden down 15 or 20, right? Um, and so the defense has been great for them, which, pivoting to the Piston side of things, they've not necessarily made it hard for the Magic to play good defense. Cade's been great. No surprise. Cade was very good last year's playoffs, too. But I texted Chromie, friend of the channel, and was like, this Pistons team, watching them, these playoffs, they don't feel any different than last year's team. The players are largely the same. The shooting issues are largely the same. The shot creation issues are largely the same, all outside of Cade. And the biggest issue for them has been Jalen Duren's just regressed kind of back to last year's form.
Yeah.
The most points he scored through 3 playoff games this series is 11. That's his highest scoring total. He's not hit double-digit rebounds once, and he's not even a big where his defense is elite. So it's not even a world where like, well, he's not really scoring as much as normal, but he's locking down the defensive end. No, he's not doing that either because it's just not the type of player he is. So with him regressing from being a legitimately great secondary option this season for the Pistons, they don't really have anyone else to turn to, and the Magic are just taking full advantage of that. They're collapsing the paint on Cade. His turnovers are way up in Game 3 because of it. Because also, now by Game 3, he knows I got to do more. Like, this is on me. This is on me. That just leads to more turnovers. They're letting shooters stay open. It's paid off. The best the Pistons have shot in the game this series is 34% from 3. I think it's 34%. They were 31%, and they were 29% in the game. Just not great from that standpoint. And so, once again, even if the Magic aren't a great offensive team, it doesn't really matter because they can force bad offense out of the Pistons pretty much the whole game. And so that's how they're up 2-1. And once again, it doesn't feel at all like a fluky 2-1. The Magic came out and soundly won those 2 games. And even Game 2 where the Pistons won big, it was close at half. The game just got away from the Magic. They couldn't score. They're a team that's prone to that. It happened in Game 2, and maybe it'll happen again. It probably will. But the Magic have played really, really well and just outplayed the Pistons largely.
Yeah, in that game too, the Pistons had an uncharacteristic compared to the series 38-point third quarter.
Yeah.
To start the second half and cooked the Magic. I'm not shocked by this. I told everyone, at least the listeners and you guys as well, that I thought the Magic were just a bad matchup for the Pistons before they played the play-in game against the 76ers.
Yeah.
They had split the series 2-2. Cade Cunningham had been they'd relied way too much on him through those 2 games. He was averaging over 30 plus. He's still averaging over 30 plus in those games. The Magic had won a game where Paulo Banchero didn't even play in it, so it didn't even need him. The playoff experience, the Magic have more, 1 game more, 7 games to The Pistons 6 games, so the playoff experience is there. They also just have more guys that you can trust to go get a bucket in different moments.
So
100%.
on that, I'll ask you this question: who are like the 6 best players in this series?
6 best, I think I'm gonna go with Cade as the best, Boncaro second. Then I'm going Franz. I'm gonna go Desmond Bain. I'm gonna go Jalen Suggs. So that's 4 for the mat. And then I guess I'd go Jalen Duren 6.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you gotta give Jalen Duren kind of the edge because of how good he was this season.
4-2.
But even, I mean, Wendell Carter has outplayed Jalen Duren in
He
this
has.
series. If you look at just this series, so it really has kind of felt like it's Magic have had 5 of the 6 best players in this series. That you would expect that 1 seed to be the team that has 5 of the 6 best players. So yeah, just another way to look at it. But you're spot on. You can continue.
Yeah, no, that is another great way to look at it too. It's kind of the opposite of what this is what the Rockets should be doing at least. They had the
Yeah.
5 of the 6 best players, and LeBron is just one of those 6. But yeah, I say all that to say I'm not shocked by this, and I do think this series, the Pistons can still very well win the series, and
100%.
I think they probably will. I think this will go 7. I think they'll win in Game 7. I think Jalen Duren's got to do some soul searching. You got to figure out if you're going to man up and play well enough. And I haven't watched an Inside the NBA segment yet, but I wonder if Shaq and Charles have given Jalen Duren some crap because, like you said,
I'm sure they have.
11 points as your most through 3 games is inexcusable. There's not a matchup on the other side that should be giving you trouble. Wendell Carter
You can't be getting cooked by Wendell Carter.
or Goga.
Yeah.
Neither of those guys should be guys that scare you. Part of that makes me wonder if they should consider playing Tolu Smith some minutes, jokingly, of course. But Jalen Duren's got to be better than that for them to have any chance, I think, going forward in this series. We'll see if he does that tonight.
He's just clearly in his own head at this point.
But I'm not surprised that the series is leaning the Magic's way. I think it's going to be even the whole way through and go 7 at this point.
Agreed.
But it's again, the Pistons won 60 games this year. It was very, very surprising. We kind of said that coming into the playoffs. Who would have thought, 2 years ago, the team that lost, wasn't it 27 games in a row, they would be the 1 seed 2 years later, and they'd have 3-4 of the same core players that they had on that same roster. They're still young. They're still developing. They won a ton of games this year. Even if they lose this series, I don't think we should put a bunch of, pump the brakes, hate on them, because they very well could do similar to what the Thunder did the following year, because the Thunder were the 1 seed, flamed out in the second round against the Mavericks, a 4 seed. I don't think any different of the Pistons if they end up losing this series.
Agreed. And I think it's like, yeah, they were the 1 seed. They deserve credit for that. And I'm not trying to, revisionist history this 3 games in. But, I think even on the podcast, I was like, I think the Pistons have, the 4th best chance to come out of the East. And I think even,
It was reflected in
FanDuel odds probably showed that.
FanDuel had FanDuel and Vegas had the Pistons as the 4th favorites to win the Eastern Conference.
So, they were, despite the 1 next to their name, they were never really viewed as legitimate finals contenders. So, yes, I didn't expect a first-round flame-out if it does happen, or expect quite this level of struggles in the first round. Yeah, it's I don't think this is a huge, huge disappointment because I never had finals aspirations or finals expectation for this group. So I think it's a good point, JP.
Mm-hmm.